James from Tabletop Gaming Guild, and today we're going to look over the 1 to 4 player game Roman Roll by PSC Games. So let's go ahead down to the table. I'm going to give you a general overview of how to play the game, and then we're going to come back and I'm going to give you my final thoughts. Okay, so this is going to be what initial setup of Roman Roll look like. And there's some rules on here, like you're going to have less dice based on player count and other things, but we're just going to set for full player count. You're going to put out 3 gods. You have the opportunity of potentially having the 4th one out if a certain player board's out, but basically you're going to deal out 3 and put the rest in the game. You're going to put out these Nero cards that are points at the highest on top, lowest on the bottom, and you're also going to put out the starting buildings that are going to be available throughout the game. So these are buildings you can build in the game. And in a game of Roman Roll, what you're going to be doing is you're going to roll these big chunky dice, which are really, really nice. And in turn order, and you'll pass first player along, which you're going to use this proconsulate card to show who's the first player. You're going to draft a die. And when it gets to the last player, they're going to draft 2 dice, and then it's going to go the opposite direction. So at the end of every round, you're going to have 2 dice. Then, in turn order, you're going to pick and resolve one of these dice, and you're going to go until both dice are resolved. There's multiple different actions you can do with the dice, and they have different symbols and faces on them. A lot of them are going to be potentially here. See that good? Like this one here has a icon on top is going to be corresponding to one of the actions, and you have resources you can gain. The neat thing about this game is it offloads all the cubes and dice onto a board, so you can write with your dry erase marker on the board all your resources and cross them off when you use them. When you gain some of the resources, like these coins, you're going to actually put an underline on them, and then you X them when you use them, because these are how you're going to score your points at the end of the game. So before we go over your actions here, I'm just going to explain how you win the game. So you win the game by having the most points. The points are counted at the end of the game, but wherever you are on these tracks is the points indicated for these 4 different tracks. If you hit the blue and there's any of these Caesar cards available, you're going to gain the top Caesar card, and it's going to be worth the points on the top. You can have multiple of these, so you can try to complete multiple of these to get multiple of those and get the most points that way. But again, all these 4 tracks, which I'll explain what they do in a second, are going to give you the points indicated at the end. These ones here, if you look at the card here, for every 2 you're going to get 1 point rounded up, and same with the senators. For every 2 you're going to get 1 point rounded up. And again, for these guys too, when you get them, you're going to be doing the underlines, and when you use them, which I'll show you in a minute, you're going to be hitting the X's. Now, on the board here, which I'll show you another one just to make it easier on myself, you're going to have these different actions you can resolve. If they require a certain die face, they're going to be shown on the top here. You can construct a building, so you're going to be using either the builder or the architect. The architect gives you a discount, and you're going to be looking at these different buildings here. And if you want, you're going to be paying the resources here. Some of them actually have, and you get to place it. I would imagine some of these actually have rules, which this one does here. It has to be entirely on a hill, and it has to be max 1 per hill. So there's going to be placement restrictions on the board. And again, I'm just going over briefly what the rules are to give you an idea. If I build a building and pay those resources, I'll cross the resources off on my board, and then I will mark the building on here. And it needs to be next to the meeple. So one thing you can do on your turn when there's going to be more and more buildings on here, you can actually move along those buildings so that you can build farther and farther out. Now, your first movement's free. Any additional movement will cost a fish, and you can gain fish multiple different ways, but the main one's going to be through this dice here. That'll give you a fish. You're going to put them on your board. Once you place your building here, you're going to use your color marker, which is going to be a different color marker for each player, and you're going to take this shape on the top So let's say it was right here, and you're going to take this letter here and SH. Okay, so that denotes it's yours, is on the board. People can move across it to build more buildings. There's benefits to building beside another player's building. If you build beside another player's building, you will gain a senator, and the senator allows you, on your turn, you can cross them off to cheat. You can double draft, so the last player double draft, but you can double draft ahead of them. And before you, before action, you can deploy a senator to gain one of those different roles on there to help out. So you can use your, if you have just a die of resources, you could use the build action and capitalize on that, which is nice. There's other things you can do as free actions, which I'll explain in a second, but the first action you're going to do, you could do is construction. Then you can raise legions. So the way you're going to raise legions is you can activate up to 3 of these army buildings. So if they're actually out, you would then perform this. If this is owned by another player, you're going to give them, or they're going to gain a coin for the use of this building. So when you raise the legions and you get them on here, you're going to mark the underscores on here. And I'll explain what you're actually going to be doing those within a minute, but that's basically how you're going to gain armies. The next thing you can do, which we're going to get into right now, is you can conquer. So when you conquer, you're going to use these armies plus any spears that you rolled on the dice. And what's going to happen there is you can conquer these different places on here, and you have to start along the line here. And this is going to be how much it costs. So you can use a spear for it, and you can also use your legions for it, and you cross them off and you cross this off. And you do as many as you have available in one region. So you can't, on the same action, conquer here and here. You have to pick one and do that. So the importance of conquering these is going to be 2 parts. One is, you notice how they have this little flag on them. So when you conquer them, you're going to start marking off these. And once you get to the 6th one, you're actually going to get one of the Nero cards, which is cool. So, and also, I did forget to mention, every time you build on that construct action, you're also going to be marking these off, and that gives you points. Also, and some of the buildings also give you points at the end of the game too. And once you hit 8, you get the Nero card. So that's 3 of the actions. The next thing you can do is you can expand. You may build roads, and these roads are going to cost 1 stone per road. If you build more than, if you look on the bottom here too, you can see if you renovate 2 or more roads in a second house, you get 2 more of those points. So on here, you can pick a single region, and you will, say I do this road, you have to start and connect them, and start and connect them. Now, if this was conquered, immediately what will end up happening is that person will get this good down on the bottom. So that's another advantage of doing the expand action, is you're connecting all of these cities. And also later on, you see in one of the actions that connecting them will give you an ability to do tax. So all your connected sentiments in one region, you gain the resources for it. Now, if you actually have this symbol here on the die, you can also generate it for all regions instead, which is really good. So there's a lot of advantages to gaining these goods by doing the trade action. And you'll notice the trade action doesn't require a specific die phase. It's just that's going to be your action for the turn. Same with trade. With trade, you're going to spend 3 matching resources. And jewelry in this game, in this manner, is going to be a wild resource. And you're going to gain 3 money for that. If you had the hand symbol on there, you're also going to gain 1 money and per jewelry used. So that's pretty good. And then all the other players, including yourself, will fire off the gear ability on any of the buildings. Now, do I have any with the gear ability? Show you this one. So everyone that owned this building would also have this fire off too. So that is going to be the trade action. Other than that, you can do free actions, and your free actions are going to let you spend only on the die face themselves, not on your board. You can spend these to up the different advisors, and when you do that, they give you different abilities. Once you complete them, you get these bonus victory points at the end of the game. So the game will continue until all the Nero cards are claimed. Once the last Nero card is claimed, you will then complete one more round. After that, the game ends. You tally up your points, and the person with the most points at the end of the game wins. So let's go ahead back up to the table here, and I'll give you my final thoughts on Roam and Roll. Okay, so Roam and Roll is a really unique roll and write game. I was really surprised at how unique it actually is. I've never played a game quite like it. It basically is a Euro that offloaded all of its components onto a dry erase board and dry erase boards for the players. Now that comes with some good and bad, but I will say overall the game is a lot of fun. It gives a lot of choices. It's really solid Euro game. Should it be a roll and write? Not sure, but I do still enjoy it. The one big thing that makes me question whether it should be a roll and write is actually constructing the buildings. When you construct the buildings, you're going to again put that shape down with your dry erase marker and then write the initials on there. The problem is when you resolve some of the actions that have to do with these buildings, it's hard to see them on the board and find them all. It would have been better if there was like components that you could put on there to easily visually see them quickly. So that's the one thing that didn't really work out or translate very well into a roll and write. But the storing of the resources is nice because it's nice not having like 800 cubes all over the place, and the setup of the game is really quick because of that. I like the variable buildings you put out. They stayed the same buildings the entire game, but you have a lot more that can come out. So it does change the game a lot, and the different gods that can be available. So it adds a lot of variety to the game. Plus, each of the boards, which I don't think I mentioned in the overview, actually has a unique power too that makes the game unique each time, especially when you randomly hand out those player boards. You get different player abilities, and overall I really like this game. I believe there's already an expansion out for it, so if you're looking for a more complex roll and write, or just basically a good Euro, I would recommend checking out Roam and Roll. Thank you for watching.